Welcome back, everybody, to the Equipped, Bruised, Tired podcast. We are forever your grateful hosts, Ryan Stin with me here, and Bryce Krawchuk myself. And so how has your week of training been, Ryan? I see you didn't shave your face and make yourself look like a very large baby, like I did.
Well, I trimmed my face because I've learned from my mistakes in the past.
I thought that photo with the big beard looked pretty good, honestly.
Yeah, it got a little rangy, and
rangy.
When your beard is that long, you gotta actually brush it.
No way, really?
Yeah. So
that's the thing, hey?
Yeah, around Nationals 2016, I had the longest beard I ever had, and it was a rebound after having shaved my face completely. And so I didn't shave my face again for a really long time. And it was too long. And I look back at pictures and I'm like, Rhea, why didn't you tell me my beard looked so bad? She's like, I swear I tried, but you wouldn't listen.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean,
when it gets caught in your bench shirt, then it's too long. That's what you should.
Yeah, the problems that I will never ever experience.
Did you grow a big goatee for that?
If you look at the last episode, that was I literally hadn't shaved since before this whole quarantine thing. So that's what 4 or 5 weeks now. I trimmed it a few times because mine just gets like really gnarly. It's just like a couple of long ones out of my cheeks.
Yeah.
Rangy, yes, that's actually a great word for it. But yeah, that's and that's about like as thick and full as it gets. So today I was like, I'm just gonna shave it off, and then I was like, oh yeah, but I'm a 120 now. My chin goes into my neck, which goes into my body, and they look like a thumb. Anyway.
Yeah, I've seen the memes, so
yeah, it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So how has your training been this week, Ryan?
Pretty okay, I guess. Bench was the
excitement is boundless right now.
Yeah, so bench was good on the beginning of the week. I was going for like not a all-time PR, but to beat my meet PR of 205, I did 207.5 in the gym.
Right.
And it went pretty good. I called like an 8.5. I just felt kind of sloppy on it, kind of heaved a little bit, so wasn't super happy with it. Was that?
You hit 207 though?
Yeah, 207.5. So I figured maybe tomorrow I'll just try and clean that up, and unless things feel good, I might go for 210, which actually would tie my best in training ever. But then,
do you have how many more weeks of this block do you have left?
I don't know.
A few.
Really.
Like this week isn't the end, right?
No, I don't think this will be week 4. I think so.
Yeah, so you got some time to kind of swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Do something silly in the last week.
Like midweek, maybe 2 days ago, I think it was from like really light deadlifts. I threw conventional deadlifts in with my sets 10 squats, and like I threw a rib out, so it's been like searing pain when trying to move right now or sleep. So
lovely.
So it's it's pros and cons, but it's been okay. So
bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, exactly. Bench is feeling pretty good though, so I'm excited to see where it goes here.
That's good.
I might have to give in and get some gear back on after this block, though.
I was gonna say, are you starting to feel that itch yet? Because I'm starting to get there.
Yeah, my scars are starting to disappear on my legs. So
yeah,
that's a sign we stop seeing your suit marks after what has it been since Nationals? 8 weeks now.
Yeah, a couple months. They start fading,
but they're fading. So
yeah, I get that.
Ray is back in gear now, so.
That just makes it all the more appealing.
Yes and no.
Yeah. It's always the duality of equipped lifting, right?
Yeah, and the stress of spotting her alone.
Right.
So, especially bench. But it's okay. But the excitement of it, right? Like the intensity of it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is maybe try to get some equipped bench in the next block. Because, I mean, honestly, Selena can probably hand out and spot my equipped bench, but training for me is going really well, man. Still slowly chipping away at the raw squat, which is nothing to write home about, but it doesn't hurt right now, so that's pretty cool. I've gone up a boatload on my pause squats, which were pretty embarrassing the first week I did them. And my comp raw bench, all of my bench variations are just going ballistic right now. I don't know what's up with that. I'm finally learning to use all this body weight I gained, I guess. But yeah, I think that you can hear it here first. I think in a few weeks, the last week of the block, I'm going to load 200 kilos and I'm going to bench press it to Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On." Because I've always told my athletes that if you can't hit a PR to Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On," then you don't deserve it. And I'm going to eat my words here. So
that's fair.
We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited.
I had a training cycle where it seemed like every time I was doing heavy equipped squat, it was some Evanescence song that would come on. And, it started to become my squat song, even though it was not what I wanted for a squat
even
song.
Though it's a terrible song.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
All right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. It'll probably be posted somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, I find that pretty exciting prospect after having kind of been stuck in that 170 to 180 range for a number of years. And then going up and hitting a couple of small PRs and now being like, oh, I can actually bench a boatload more. I just haven't really pushed my raw bench for a year. So,
yeah. That's kind of the way I feel. I'm sure the last time I benched appreciable amount would have been like 2015 at a meet. I think I hit 205 in that meet in 2015. And then I did equipped nationals a few months later, and then I injured my shoulder, and it kind of just like never really pushed again after that. So it was the first time I've kind of focused on it for a while, and yeah, it's feeling pretty good. I'm hopeful to bridge the gap between Rhea's equipped bench and my raw bench now. So she's well on the lead now.
That's the point of contention there.
Yeah, that's the motivation now at this point.
I like it. I think I hit like a 185.5 actually, before Worlds, just because one guy at the gym had recently pressed 185, and I was like, I'm gonna outbench you by half a kilo, because I'm kind of a dick like that sometimes. And it was like at 8, but it was the last raw block of the bench, or the last raw bench of the block, and I thought, hell, we'll load it up a little bit and see what happens. But there's clearly a lot more there even then. So
did you have
just starting to see that now? I didn't, and I feel like I need to serve my penance for that.
Makes sense.
So you said we got a question from one of our listeners here. This was to the email.
Yeah, we got an email question here this week.
Cool.
From Rick. He says, when looking for a first bench shirt or squat deadlift suit, how do you know the correct size? And let's say I can test fit the suit or shirt it's used. How do I judge if it's something I can work with? So, yeah, I think obviously all manufacturers have kind of a measurement guide, which is always a good place to start. Suits for Titan, I think it's just your hip measurements. So just take your hips at your largest point. I'll give you a good starting point. I think they recommend +2 or +1 size if you're looking for a looser suit. And then inzers are weird. It's like hips -8 for the TRX, I think. And then hips -10 maybe or -6 for the Fusion. But Titans are easy. It's just your hip measurements. And then bench shirts are basically just chest measurements. And that kind of gives you your starting point. But if you can test something, I think if you can throw something on, that's really the way to go. I mean, you should be able to judge if you can't move too much. You throw a bench shirt on, you can go through a full range of motion bench, or you can do a push up. Clearly, you're not going to get anything out of it. But if it kind of restricts you, you can kind of feel it binding up in the back of the arms. That gives you an idea. It's going to give you a bit of a pop. But you got to think about it. If you put a bench shirt on and you can bring your arms down halfway without any restriction, the shirt's not going to help you at that halfway point, right? So wherever you can move to without enough restriction, the shirt's going to give out there. So just knowing that will give you an idea. Suits, sort of same thing. Throw the straps up, see where you can get to body weight without contorting your body, because some people throw it on and like shrivel into a ball to get down to
just cannonball into the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. turtle squat down.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that? You've kind of started out more recently than I have, so.
Yeah, I think for me, so I obviously came into this with, what would that have been, 5 years of competitive powerlifting experience. But for me, it was like, if I could, I threw the suit on and I was pretty close to depth at like 80 or 90%. And I was pretty close or getting touches at 85 to 95% in my bench shirt. And, being able to get to the bar in the deadlift would obviously probably be a prerequisite if it's your first suit. Like, you don't want to be throwing it on and being like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to pull from blocks for 6 weeks to break this suit in, because it's just, you're going to be so far out of position. It's probably going to be more frustrating than anything. So, I mean, I would say those are pretty good. If you can get into the equipment and load up 80 to 90% and do most of, if not the whole rep, then that's probably a good place to start, because that's going to give you a little window on either side where you can train a little bit above your raw max and a little bit below your raw max and get in some decent work before you start really trying to push the stuff. And I think that'll also maybe leave you enough room to modify the equipment, whether you want to try to bring in the hips a little bit or pull in the straps or tighten the sleeves on your shirt, and be able to milk a little bit more out of it before you move on to your next piece of gear that way as well. All right. So I'm pretty excited about our guest today. I've competed with him at least twice, maybe now. I guess probably both the Equipped Worlds I did. He would have been there. But we're going to chat very shortly here with Stian Walgermo, and he's a Norwegian powerlifter. He's spent 13 years competing. He's done over 56 equipped competitions. I actually went through his open powerlifting and counted, because I was like, man, this is a staggering overall number of meets, and that's just equipped. So he's probably had, I don't know. Again, I didn't count them all, but he's done a ton of meets, and I think we talked a little bit about how that may have impacted his overall development. But twice he won the European champion, 13 times he's won the Norwegian National Champion, and he took home a silver medal at 2015 Open IPF Worlds. He also developed the reffing app that you can get to run meets and operate the lights with your phone. And we're going to sit down and chat with him. He did a number of world games and has just been around and experienced and participated in equipped lifting for quite some time. So I think had some pretty interesting perspectives on it. And then we got off on a little bit of a tangent and started talking about how his future career as a meme developer is going at the end of the podcast. So we hope you're looking forward to it, and we'll toss it over there right now. Cool, man. Well, first off, Stian, I'm going to mess that up. I'm self-conscious of it now. I used to just roll off the tongue, and now I'm like, now that you're here, I want to say it correctly.
Just say it fast. So.
Okay. All right. So, Stian, welcome to the podcast, man. It's good to have you on here. You've been competing for a bunch of years and got a bunch of experience, and we've got a bunch of questions for you. So thanks for agreeing to chat with us here. So I guess we'll kind of jump right in, and on the topic of your recently born daughter. First off, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And second, how has that now affected your training? Have you found it's affected your training, or not so much?
Yeah, it's affected. For example, she was born on 28th of August, so that was in the early preparation for the Worlds.
Okay.
And apparently that didn't go so well. So I bombed in the bench.
Right.
And in June, I did nationals, and I started on 292.5 in the bench. And at Worlds, I started on 277.5, and I bombed out some strength.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. So so the preparation and being a father for the first time is difficult. So yeah. It's a steep learning curve, but it's better now.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you starting to get a little bit more sort of acclimated to that now?
Yeah, now it's good. Now I have parental leave, so,
right.
So now everything's good.
So before Worlds, you were parenting and working and training?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I had 6 weeks of vacation / parental leave after she was born.
Mm-hmm.
But then we just was in around universe because she was so small, and we used all our time on her, and we didn't sleep or no training.
Right.
And so
you would say that not sleeping and not training is not good for your performance.
Oh,
right.
So I think I was in the club 1 or 2 times in the preparation for Worlds. So just the whip training at the club at the heaviest weights, and I had a friend come here to train in my basement with equipment the other times.
Right.
So, but it was not good, and it was very low quality on the training. So, yeah.
How do you like the whole basement training thing? Because you've been doing that for a while, even before everything was under lockdown. Are you a fan of that kind of training, or do you miss the environment, or what's that like for you?
Good question. For me, it's pretty normal, because when I started to powerlift back in 2006, it was the same then. I trained on and off alone for 3-4 years, also in a basement. And now we also do a club I train in now. We also is in a basement, so we don't have any cellular or anything down there. So.
Right.
So I don't know anything better than that. So
yeah, that's okay then. So is Norway like completely locked down, or what's the situation like there right now with the whole COVID thing?
It's border control, and all airports are locked down. So basically. But this week the school started to open again, so the smallest childs can start to get back to school. So it's incrementally starting to open up again.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your club. Who do you normally train with when you train at your club?
I train at the club that's named KK67. So it stands for Kraftsportsklubb of 1967. So it's founded in 1967. And one of the founders is Odd Haugen. Probably heard of him.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's living in the United States, I think. So he's a big old strongman. So he was started a club in the 60s, and I train with a lot of Norwegian powerlifters there. For example, Marte Elverum, and a lot of up and coming juniors. Chido, he has the world record in the deadlift, 83 raw. So a lot of good lifters there.
And are you in Oslo or near Oslo, or you're not over in Stavanger, are you?
No, I live in a city called Trondheim. It's not in the middle, but you can search it up on Google. You see.
I have 2 landmarks. I have Oslo and I have Stavanger. So
it's north of both of those.
Okay.
Cool. So I went, and before we like kind of got into or confirmed you for this interview, or just after, I was watching some of your old lifting footage, and I was watching 2017 Pilsen Open Worlds, and so you came out and you did a dab before your opening deadlift. Yeah. Right? Do you remember that? Yeah. Correct. And then you opened raw, and you just about cleaned the weight. Like it was 220 or something, and it just flew. And then you ended up going like 300 kilos or something like that. So what were you injured at the time? Why did you dab, and why the light opening?
Okay. Yeah. So in the preparation for that Worlds, I had some trouble with my back. Mm-hmm. And in the weeks before, it's starting to get better. So, this looks like it's going to be okay. When I started to warm up and felt okay, but after the squat, it was back to it was pain and it didn't feel right. Mm-hmm. So after, I don't know, now I I lifted with the shirt in the bench, yeah. But after a bench, I got a chiropractor to just hit me up with some cracking. So he gave me some beating on the bench. And suddenly, and I couldn't warm up with the suit because I didn't have time.
Right.
So I just started low just to feel my back how it was. Did a dab before because someone was yelling from the audience, just Stian dab. Okay.
So he'll take requests.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I also did it on nationals, I think. So yeah. And when I got back home, my sister said that, "Did you really dab on the words?" Yeah. But after the opening, I felt good. So I raced to 257 or something. Yeah, just filling up. Felt okay. So I said, okay, just try 300 in the last attempt because it was a placement lift or something. I think I placed 6th or 7th or on the total. Right. So just loaded the bar at 300 and felt pretty good. So I probably would have pulled 330, 40 with the suit that day, but I don't got everything under control. So
yeah, it's tough to know going in on a day like that. So that was my first Worlds. That was the first time I ever competed at Worlds equipped. And that was a pretty crazy year to watch. I know for me, like I go back and watch that 105 competition and it's just like, it's really, really cool, really interesting. And I think that the depth of field that year was pretty crazy. There were 8 totals over 1,000 kilos. How did that feel for you, having been around, that level of competitiveness? Did that year stand out for you? And, how did it feel to kind of be a part of all that?
Yeah, I didn't remember that at first, but when you say it, I remember. Usually if you didn't do 1,000 or more, you place out of the podium. So if you are around 1,000, you had a shot at the podium. That was what I'm used to. So that year, and when I saw the nominations, I think, okay, let's just hope that my body is okay and I have a run for it. So, but didn't go that well. But it's pretty unusual. I don't think it's happened since or before that. So for our sake, that was the hardest year so far, I think.
Right. And this year was kind of the exact opposite of that, hey? It was like the polar opposite of that. I think the podium do you remember the podium totals this year? There were a lot of bombs in the 105.
Yeah, I think Mashintov from Russia won with 1,030.
Right.
The same as my PR.
Yeah.
And on second place, you have Alain Grenier from France and Christopher Eikeland on third with 977 or something.
Yeah, those were under 1,000.
Yeah, so that one time I had a shot to get on the podium again, I bombed in bench, so it was a good feeling.
Well, I did the dumb thing of moving up a weight class and finding somewhere else where there were like 11 totals over 1,000 to compete against. So I was kind of kicking myself the same too. Yeah.
So going back a little bit further, I think your biggest total is 1030, and that was in Luxembourg in 2015, right?
Yeah.
So then I think you'd mentioned that previously you'd come to like a bit of plateauing, as well, that you're planning to go up to 120 this year for Worlds in Norway. Is that still the plan, or is anything changing with everything going on right now?
No, that's still a plan. And the reason for that is basically I wanted to go up to 120 probably since Luxembourg in 2015. Ended in 105 every year. Not any good reason why, but just felt okay. And if I go up a class, I have to start all over to climb the podium. So, and I felt it was not right regarding getting the medals and placement in the 105. If I go up, I don't think I could get to that level before I lay the belt on the life. Yeah. Before I quit. So, yeah. So now I'm going up to 120 class, and it's mostly because for myself, just for getting the PRs. I want that in the 105 class.
So nationally, like, does that decision to go 120 for Worlds, is that totally your decision, or does it come down to like the coaching, or?
No, it's only my decision.
You don't have to qualify or requalify or anything?
We need to qualify, but the qualifying meet is postponed or cancelled. I don't know yet. So my coach said that you will probably go to Worlds anyways. You can. I know what you can do. So I'm not worried about that. So I hope that the Worlds will be hosted. So they had a new update on that meet yesterday, and they said that they are working to run the meet as planned. So just cross our fingers and hope they will open the borders and allow everyone to compete.
Yeah. Are you involved at all with that, or do you know the group that's planning the event?
I know the group, but I'm not involved.
So were any of your aspirations to make Norway your next big meet, was that at all contingent on or trying to make it to the World Games? Was that something that was on your radar, or did you want your last meet to be Norway because it's a home country kind of thing?
It's mostly because I'm having a family now, so other people to care about. And also second, that it's in Norway, and third, I was thinking about the World Games. Even if I had qualified, I don't think I would go for it because I already competed in 2 World Games, so it's not a big deal for me anymore.
Right. So maybe we can unpack that for a second here. So you've competed at 2 World Games. Can you tell us a bit about that? What your experience was like? Maybe some of your favorite moments from those competitions?
Yeah. First, I got to say that even I competed at 2 World Games, I was never qualified for any of those.
Okay.
So I can start with that. In the first World Games, we had qualification at the 2012 Worlds in Puerto Rico. So I placed 6th in that championship, and you have to place top 3 to get qualified. So when the nomination for World Games came out in February 2013, I was 5th reserve on the nomination for that heavyweight group, I think. And I think it was Easter, Heinrich from South Africa sent me a message that I was going to World Games, and I didn't understand what he was talking about. But it appeared that the people above me had injuries or of some reason could not compete, so I was the next one to call in. So that was the 2013. It was held in Cali in Columbia. So Cali is placed 1,000 meters above sea level. I don't know if you know that. So the climate was a bit different, and it was hot, and it was thin air, and venue was some semi-open, so you didn't have walls on the sides, so you have air going through the whole venue. So that was a bit different. So you have some moist in the air and slippery bars and everything. And sweaty people. So what I remember from that year was my first World Games. It was very cool to take part. We had security guards, we had police cars driving in front of us when we go to training. And so it was felt like movie stars.
Yeah.
It was a little scary having all those police around, though. I think they said the 10,000 extra police they brought in for that event.
Yeah, and then you start to wonder why why they're there. But
yeah, exactly.
Then you start to hear stories about people getting adopted and things like that. So yeah, so we didn't leave the hotel more than once or twice, I think. So it was fun. I remember I was injured right before I left Norway, so I didn't do a good performance, but it was okay. It was good learning and yeah, it was fun to compete.
So did that make the second World Games go a little bit better? Were you more prepared for that then? How did the second World Games go for you? And which one was that? Where was that?
It was in Poland.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in Wroclaw in Poland. Let me see. It was, it's also a fun story. The qualification was in Orlando.
Yeah.
So and I bombed in bench again.
In Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right the week before the meet, my last training before I left Norway, I pulled a muscle in my thighs. So so I could only lift with suits on because of the pain. So the meet, when I started the warm up, everything felt okay. I did 2 squats, I think, 390 or 385, I don't remember. And when I came to bench, my coach at the time was Dietmar Wolf, and he loaded the bar with, I think it was 20 or 30 kilos above my opener. So he misloaded the bar. And he let me try to push it through. So in the last warm-up, I think I was trying to bench 310 or something. And my PB at the time was 292 or something.
Oh, no. So
yeah.
That ended up on the bar in the warm-up room, hey?
Yeah.
Damn.
So I don't remember he was going to the secretary to lower the opening weight or even. So when I got out to the platform, I started around 290 and I was just done from that warm-up lift. So I had 3 attempts and I couldn't lock it out. So, and also at this meet, I could have got away with the victory over Semenenko, because if I got that one bench, I would have won, I think. So I got the gold in the deadlift and silver or bronze in the squat. So I just needed one bench to the total. So, yeah.
But you still ended up going to the World Games off the back of that, right?
Yeah. Can we take a 1-minute break, because my wife is sending me messages here? So I'll just be back in 1 minute.
Yeah, for sure. No problem.
Yeah. Left you with the cliffhanger there.
Yeah, we got to know, man. How did you get the World Games off of that?
Yeah, so I bombed at the qualifying meet. So how can you get the World Games then?
Tell me, in case something happens in 2021 here.
You can try to guess.
Did you qualify off of regionals then, off of Europeans?
Yeah, I guess if you would have got the regional
Europeans, I won the Europeans that year. So that's probably the reason, but I don't think it's the reason, because I got the wild card from the regional, the European Federation. So it was between me and Konovalov from Russia to get the wild card. And since the EPF president is Norwegian and close to the Norwegian Federation, I think there was some lobby work behind the scenes. Yeah. So right after I bombed, and Dietmar felt sorry because he loaded the bar and everything, and also the EPF president was place at meet, so I think they started talking right away because I was already planned to compete at the World Games. So So I got the wild card after a couple of months, I think. So that's it.
And how would you compare Poland's, like the environment of Poland versus Cali? Definitely probably felt safer there.
Yeah, no police, no guards. But if you compare the hotel, or I don't know if you call it a hotel in Poland. I think we stayed at some school or something.
Yeah, the dorms. Yeah.
The dorms. It was okay, but not the best, because we got some shitty room with shitty beds and air conditioning. And yeah.
Did you have air conditioning?
No.
Oh yeah. Okay. We went and bought a fan at some electronics store just to keep some air moving.
Yeah, and the toilet didn't work. Yeah, I just have to share.
Oh, no.
I don't think we have a shower in the room or even so. Yeah, but it was okay. The meet, let me see. Yeah, also injured at that meet because after Europeans in Malaga in Spain, I twisted my back. So, and I pulled my muscle in the chest. So at the deadlift, actually. So I was injured, and I had nationals 3 weeks after the Europeans, and 1.5 months after that it was World Games. So it was a lot of meets on a short time. So I don't remember my placing at the World Games in 2017, but yeah, just I participated. 2 times participator.
That's what I did in Poland too. So I just participated.
Yeah. So
going back, you mentioned Detmar, and I don't know if you're okay to talk about the situation, because I know a few years ago he kind of left Norway and started to work with the German national team. But like from your perspective, and I know like both Bryce and I both got people asking us to ask you about this situation and how you feel. Do you think it was a good move, him moving on? Like had his time kind of come and gone in Norway, or I guess I'm trying not to like lead you into any answers. I don't want this to get kind of like negative or anything like that, but because I don't know what your relationship is with Detmar. But yeah, I mean, what was your thoughts on that whole situation?
Yeah, what can I say? It was not that big of a surprise. We had some storms running at that time because we had a nomination for that. Was it 2017? Yeah, 2017 Worlds, and we had some lifters that was, in my opinion, overqualified, but did not get nominated for the Worlds. And that was just one of many points that we had going on the team. And it's basically, if you sum it up, he probably felt that his time was come, and he said that, or we got a mail from the federation that Dietmar has quit his job, and he will not be training us anymore. So, and we got the junior coach taking over the open team. So, yeah, he's been training, been a national coach, I don't know, 15, 20 years in Norway, I don't remember. So, yeah, it's time was probably come, I think. So I don't think it was any drama behind it, but some can say that, some say that it was not. So yeah, but I think it was about time we got some new blood in the coaching team, because he's been around for a lot of years. So
right. Mm-hmm. So you guys are all coached. So if you're on the national team, you're actually all your coaching is done by them. They program for you, all that sort of stuff.
Yes. So some lifters have their own coaches, but that's in cooperation with the head coach.
Okay. So you guys are allowed to have your own coaches, but only if they kind of agree to it, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's some deal with some other coach, some regional coaches that's more nearer the lifter, because our head coach is staying in one town and we have lifters all over Norway. So if it's better to have a coach that's with the lifter to do it, then some have that deal.
All right.
And what was what's your take on that system? Have you at this point, are you still being coached by the Norwegian national coaches? Have you ever done parts of your training where you've directed it yourself? Do you have any experience with that, or have you always kind of been coached under the system of the national team?
Okay, to take it back to the start, in 2006, when I started powerlifting, I started right away in a powerlifting club, and I got some generic program that Dietmar made for the public at that time. So I started to train three times a week, and after I got stronger, I got more custom program from the local coach at that club. And a couple of years later, I got the junior coach handing me programs, and he was also under Dietmar at the time. So the program he made was based on Dietmar programs. And in the later years, I had Lars, who is my trainer now. He was also a junior trainer when I was junior. So I always got my programs from the coaches. So I never done my own programs, but I have coached others at one time in the past.
Is that something you are interested in doing, or once you finish powerlifting, that's it?
I was interested in that for a couple of years. I think I trained around 20 lifters at the same time, and I thought it was fun, and I was learning a lot, and it was fun to do something else. But I couldn't do that anymore because I didn't have time, so I stopped that and focused on other things. And in the future, I don't know. After I finish lifting, I don't think I will coach. I will focus on family and that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that you did some other stuff. Now, you've made some apps related to powerlifting, right? Like some judging apps, a couple of Wilks calculators. I know that your Wilks calculator has a really good comparison feature. There's the referee light system. So is programming that kind of stuff what you do for a living, or you just saw that that product or that system needed to be created and you decided to do it?
Yeah. So I work 100%. So I'm not the pro athletes that some are. So I go to work every day and work 9 to 5 or 4 to, yeah. So I am a UX lead at a software company.
Okay.
And before that, I was a full stack developer. And before that, front-end developer. And before that, I was in school. So, so the apps, I made that Wilks calculator before Luxembourg in 2015, just because I knew that Semenenko and I would have a close battle.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and I was in my best shape ever, so I knew that this could end well. So I just made that app for my own at that time, and I published it right after that Worlds. And later I made a Sinclair app for weightlifting, just a copy and change the formula. And the referee lights app I made some years later because I was at the local meet and I was very small room and I didn't see the lights and couldn't see anything basically, just the platform and the lifter. So I thought, why can't we have the lights on our phone? So when I got home after that meet, I made that prototype basically in 3-4 hours. So I made a working prototype of a referee app. So every judge could have their own phones or tablets, and everyone can connect to that meet and see the lights and see the statistics of that meet. So that was the story behind that. And I see now, some years later, that it's starting to get some traction and people are starting to use it all over the world.
Right. So it's more like a mobile score sheet as well then? I'm not familiar with it, but so you can see the lights and the prognosis and all that kind of stuff on there?
No, it's stripped down just to refereeing. So you only see the lights and the referee can only push good lift, no lift, and the cards.
Oh, okay.
And it tracks if you add a meet, for example, Calgary barbell mock meet or something, if you want to just do for fun at the club. You can just enter that meet, and referees sat down with their phones and just judge through the meet, and you will afterwards see if how many % of no lifts, what's the reason for failure, and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Got quite a few questions from our listeners here, so kind of rolling some of those. So first one here, a lot of in equipped lifting, there's a lot of unpredictable things. And someone asked, what's sort of the strangest or worst kind of thing you've seen or experienced yourself in a meet?
Can you point me in some direction or just speak freely?
Yes, I mean, whatever you think is like, if you ask me that question, I would go to 2017 Czech when Semenenko blew out his suit on his second and they went up 5 kilos on his third. So, that'd be something I would see that was kind of strange, but anything like that you can.
That's really unique. I have so many stories. It's hard to pick any, but when some of my junior years, I remember that I was seeing some of the unintended, seeing some of the Russians lift without anything under the bench shirts, and this was females, so they just don't give a and then just took off their shirts and just stood there and no long clothes on and just put on their shirts. That was pretty special. I don't think they do that anymore.
Yeah.
And also a fun story from nationals. No names will be said, but we had a lifter that's I think it was on his first deadlift. He shit himself in the suit.
Oh no! Did he have another suit? Did he have a backup?
No, I don't had any backup, and he had to pull at least 2 more lifts.
Oh no!
To get his placement in. So
he just stayed in the suit then, hey?
So he stayed in the suit full of shit.
Yep.
And he managed to pull 2 more lifts, and I think he got what he wanted. So
that's grit right there. That's a grit, man.
Yeah, fun story.
That's a great one. I like that one.
No retreat, no surrender.
No, exactly. That's the mindset. So we had another listener ask if you've played around with your bench grip much over the years, because you've got a pretty damn good bench on you. How did you kind of figure out what bench grip worked for you? Did you change that over the years? Did that change for you, or did you just kind of start benching one way and continue that way all the way through your career?
Since I've started so long ago, we didn't have the super suits or super shirts like the local super katana. So when I started with the old shirts, we have to, I remember that we just sink the bar with the elbows like up like this and just try to, it didn't help give anything. So, but in the later years, when I started to get more strength in the new shirts and everything came, and we saw that lifters could lift a lot more kilos. 105 lifter can get 100 kilos extra on a shirt. I knew that if I just experimented on the grip and angles on the shirt and the tightness, I would get better. So I remember when I was, 2015-16, when I did my last bench PB. I benched 295. It's my PB on meat. I tried to angle my arms like some Japanese lifters do.
So like a really internally rotated grip kind of thing?
No, I actually rotate the other way.
Okay.
So external rotate. So I have the mark on the ring. If you say this is the barbell ring,
yeah,
and this is the grip, I rotate this way. So I can get the elbow inwards. So it looks like Blaine Sumner is doing something similar. I don't think he's doing the exact same thing, but I try to get my elbows, against my body, but in control.
Yeah. And then I guess just going on that, and this is maybe just for my own curiosity. So your PB, was that at a low cut super katana?
Yeah. I used this low cut since it came out.
And so I know a lot of people tend to go like a pretty loose chest plate, really tight sleeves. Was that something that you really liked in the fit of your shirt, or how did you approach that aspect of it?
My shirt is actually loose in the chest and in the arms, so I don't know anything other than that. So I just it's a suit. I have a size 46. I went in the 105, and it's just it fits okay. It's like a slim fit, if you know what I mean. It's not that tight. It's not that tight, but it's okay. And I don't pull down the chest or anything. I just pull out the slack and I drag the arms just like kind the elbows.
Just above the elbow.
Yeah. So it's IPF approved.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I have a lot to go on the shirt, because after that 295, it's not got any better, and I actually benched a lot more in training in around those times. Right. So I think I managed 300 from the chest and up in 2016, and I worked to low blocks on 325 at some time, and yeah.
Well, so if I can give you a little bit of hope for the future, man, going up to 120, the bench press, it does get better.
Yeah, I hope so, because really want that 325 before I quit. So
I was going to ask did you normally cut weight to go to 105? Like, do you normally walk around like 110 or something, or are you usually like right at 105 normally?
Usually around 105, 106, 105, yeah.
So no big cuts or anything?
No, I never cut for a meet. I just, the rest, the overweight just goes away on the trip, and the other food I eat, doesn't get that same amount that I'm used to, and the training volume is lower, so I don't have to eat that much. So
yeah. Cool. I think this is maybe Bryce's question, because I know he's got a little thing for rep work and equipment, but how do you guys ever do like higher reps in your equipped lifting, or is it always just singles, doubles sort of thing?
Actually, I'm never done reps in deadlift, and I don't think I have higher reps than 2 reps in the squat suit at some low weight just to get it to sit. So, and the bench, I don't think I have more than a single there also, maybe 2 blocks. So
sorry, Bryce.
That's okay. I think interesting to see other people's approaches.
Yeah, so to answer your question, no, I don't do high reps with equipment. My philosophy there is I always compete with 1 rep, so I do more in training. So
I feel like Ryan likes that answer a lot.
Yeah, so just to blow out the suit, and no, it's not natural to do more than one rep, I think, with the suits on.
I'm going to tell Mike that next time he gives me more than one rep in a suit. It's not natural, Mike.
It's not natural.
Who does it in the meet?
Yeah.
So,
well, that one guy and that one master and the Europeans there did doubles. So
I think that was raw.
I don't think that went very well for him either. So what about your training on like raw with wraps? Do you do any stuff where you're wrapping but not in your suit? Do you use that in your training? And if so, what do you like or dislike about it? Why don't you use it if you don't?
Oh, I think I've done it. I can count it on one arm. So I've done it sometimes, but that's usually because of some injuries or very bad form that day or something. And the reason why is that the same as the answer as the other question, that I don't lift row with reps at meet, so I don't feel natural, and also I don't lift anymore without the suit with reps only. So my PB is probably 30 kilos more without reps than with reps in training. So
right. And what knee wraps do you prefer? Like, what are your favorite knee wraps?
Last year was my first year with Titan wraps. It's not the gold signature, but the black and blue wraps. And before that, I used the Insur wraps, the black and red wraps.
Okay.
Yeah. So since I only had 1 year with Titan wraps, I can't make any conclusion yet, but it felt okay and the training was good. So I will continue with that. And also the national team was sponsored by Titan last year, so everyone had to use Titan gear.
Right.
So going back to training a little bit here, do you guys train in the equipment like year round, week to week, or is it kind of like raw stuff for 4 or 6 weeks, then into the gear for a bit, or?
It's raw for life. I don't train with equipment. I think we start to use it 10 weeks before, maybe 12 weeks before the competition. So then we start to use it every other week, and intensity goes up. So the off-season periods is no equipment, and that's like it's always been for us, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
So I think when people ask, I say I'm actually a raw lifter because 99.8 of my lift is raw.
Somebody was asking what was your most enjoyable block of training, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, it's hard to say when you have done it for so long.
Yeah.
Probably the summer of 2015, coming up to the meet of my life in Luxembourg. Actually broke my ankle that summer.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I couldn't do anything for 6 weeks, I think. So I went to training with my leg in some kind of, I don't know what I call it, but I needed help to just put on the weights on the bar, and did only bench, and tried some occlusion leg press with one foot, and it was just ridiculous actually. So but after I got the leg healed, actually got my back was feeling very good. I had 6 weeks without squat and deadlifts. so I always think back on that time, because I never had any vacation from squat and deadlifts more than 6 weeks, and that was the only time before and after. So maybe there's something to it. I don't know. But afterwards, I did a raw meet first. Just I think it was 1 month after my leg was healed up, and I did pretty good. And I started the preparation for the Worlds, and everything was feeling good. The whole preparation. I had a lot of PBs in trainings also. That was unusual. And coming in at Worlds, I was very strong, and I had good progression. But I only did 7 of 9 attempts, I think. So I missed 1 squat and the last deadlift. And the last deadlift was on grip. And I also got an extra attempt because Dietmar went to the jury and said that the bar was wet.
Right. They cleaned the bar right before you, right? Someone bled on it.
Before the lifter before me.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, and I actually pulled the weight, and I was leaning backward and didn't see the judge. I don't know if I needed to stand more straight up, so I just laid a little bit more back. And when I did that, my fingertips touched the edge of the suit, so it's slipped open.
Oh man!
So that was a bummer, but. And I saw in the video afterwards that the head referee was actually putting his hand down as the bar went out of my hands.
Oh, yeah, that's tough, man.
And the lift was clean until that happened. So that was my shot, and I missed it. But I beaten Semenenko, I think 3 times or something. So it was not that big of a deal, but it was that title I was missing. So,
yeah,
right.
So I know myself and certainly my wife Selena are really excited to come to Norway. I mean, obviously, provided everything happens as planned here. So, as tourists who have never been, what's the one thing that we can't miss when we come to Norway, other than the World Championships?
Yeah, and since you're going to Stavanger, how long are you thinking to stay here?
Oh, I don't know, maybe a week and a half.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but in the area around Stavanger, you have a lot of mountains that you can hike on. There are many good attractions around there, and the poster from the 2013 Worlds in Stavanger, if you've seen that was from top of a mountain in the area. I can send you that picture afterwards, but that's a popular tourist attraction. It's on unique plateau over the fjords.
Sweet.
So you probably have to check that out, but since it's in November and it's in Norway, so maybe you don't see anything because of the fog. So
right.
Yeah, and it will probably rain all the time also. So yeah.
We'll bring a raincoat. We'll probably take that gamble, but we'll see.
Yeah, and it also be cold. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's called Pulpit Rock, right?
Yeah, Pulpit Rock.
That's me and Rhea tried to hike up that last time we were there. I would suggest like serious shoes. We had like running shoes on, and all the there's stairs and stuff for a lot of it, but they're all covered in ice. And it started raining halfway up, and it was very precarious. And we bailed about halfway up because it was like, this we're gonna die. Someone's gonna slip here, and so. But it was what we got to was really nice. But Rhea says that's her one biggest regret is we didn't make it all the way to the top of that.
Right. Well, maybe we'll all go up this year.
I'll bring like cleated hiking boots, maybe.
Yeah, we got these like spikes that fit on with a piece of rubber around the bottom of your hiking shoe there. Real good.
Yeah, but normally in November in Norway, we don't have tourists, so it's hard to recommend anything.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
So we have a bit of a section here, the string of questions that we ask pretty much everybody. There are common questions that we kind of run throughout these. Maybe we'll let Ryan kick this off.
Sure. So the first one would be, what would be like the highlight of your lifting career so far?
I I think I will sum it up like I have traveled the world. I've seen many places. I won something. I almost won something, and I started from the bottom and I got almost to the top. Sometimes to the top at Europeans. Broken almost 100 national records, a lot of Nordic records. Yeah, I probably got everything that I was capable of at the platform. So when I stop lifting or stop competing at the international level, I will look back and be happy with what I've done. So I can say anything other than that. Probably the first time I won Europeans was one of the highlights. The second time also felt good, but also going to Cali and World Game was fun. Yeah. So also I have to mention the Arnolds. Competed there one time and also was fun standing on the main stage and pulling deadlifts.
Yeah, that's a pretty nutty environment for sure.
And also seeing workers around there.
Yeah. So who have been some of your biggest inspirations? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be powerlifters here, but it can be powerlifters. Who has inspired you to, I don't know, to push hard enough to achieve all of these things?
When I started, one of my favorite lifters or idols, if you can call it that, was a national lifter that competed in the old 100 class. He won the 2006 IPF Worlds in Stavanger also. Andreas Jantveit. He competed for some years, then he had a break and he come back at the open team when I was starting to get in my best shape, and he competed in the 120 class and he won the deadlift gold in Luxembourg, for example. So he was one of my aspirations. Other than that, international lifters, I have Annibal Coimbra. Was a big fan of him. He was good idol. Was strong and he was competing for a lot of years and was able to show us that it was possible. So, yeah.
Cool. So if you could kind of sum up like one piece of advice that you wish you could go back and tell yourself when you were just starting out, what do you have sort of one thought you kind of pass on?
I have many, but one of them was don't do 12 meets a year.
Wait, what? Did you do 12 meets in a year once?
Yeah, I started powerlifting in 2006 in August. So I was a sub-junior then. I did my first meet in February 2007, so first year junior. And that meet I did 11 or 12 meets, and I did a follow-up in 2008 with something similar. And then I understood that this wasn't normal, so I stopped doing that.
And everyone just let you do that, eh?
Yeah, and I also did PB at training every other week, and stuff like that, like every other do when they start to lift. So, and in the later years, if I can go back and tell myself, is listen to your body. Yeah, so that's probably the best advice.
Sounds pretty good to me. So in terms of like what's next for you, what are your big things that you're trying to do within powerlifting right now? Like what are your sort of goals that you're aiming for as we move forward from here?
Yeah, and to start with, that's the reason I'm moving up to 120 class, because I want to break my own records, and I feel that I can't get any stronger in the 105 class, because I tried that for 5 years now, and it doesn't work. And that's a lot of reasons, but mainly because I push my body and I get injured, and I can't get back to that level I was before. So the easiest way then is to just eat more and go up a class and put on some muscles. So that's my plan now. And after I did Luxembourg 2015, I have a whiteboard that I wrote some numbers on. I just 400 in squat, 300 in bench press, and a PB in deadlift, and I have 1,050. So that was my goal then, and it's still my goal now. So I want to break that 1,050. I don't care if I weigh 15 kilos more than I planned back then, but if I do that, I can live happily ever after, I think.
Awesome, man. Cool. So I think that pretty much wraps up what we've got. Is there anything that you wanted to shout out, or your Instagram or anything like that, if people want to get a hold of you or follow you along as you gain a bunch of weight?
Yeah. So since I have parental leave now, I'm active on Instagram, I can say. So right now I'm just figuring out what to post. So I started with some memes and featured lifters and training. So I posted some memes. I got a lot of feedback on those. I think I will continue with that. So if you like memes, just follow.
Awesome. We'll put your... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I posted last week that single ply till I die meme. So that got very popular, and I think it broke every other like or share record I had on Instagram. So I'm doing a follow-up on that tomorrow. You will probably see it. So it's the coffin dance meme. So if you've not seen it, it's features Semenenko's squat and Joe Capellino's bench break or something. And Eikeland's pass out from World Games.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome,
so I
watched
already
that a few times.
Yeah, I already got a lot of new material for the follow-up, and I don't. Yeah, I can give you a hint. It's not going to be single ply this time. It's going to be raw.
All right.
So let's try that. So
Cool.
yeah. I also have a YouTube channel, but that's not active. I started it in 2006, and I just posted training for my own. And after Instagram came out, I just stopped posting there and just occasionally post some meets and something. So, yeah.
Cool. Maybe you can send us the links to those, and we can put them in the show notes somewhere. If we are we that advanced, Ryan? Can we do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm very confident.
All right. Awesome, man. Cool. Well, thanks, Stian, for coming on and chatting with us and letting us into your long, very storied time in equipped lifting. And hopefully there's a fair bit more in you before it's done.
Yeah, I remember that first episode Ryan was telling, or was the last one that Lane was telling, but did 10 worlds or something. I had to check that up after that podcast. I think last in Dubai was my 10th open worlds. So Stavanger will be my 11th, and I also did 2 or 3 junior worlds before that.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of worlds.
We hosted Junior Worlds in 2011, and I went back to look to see if you lifted there, and I noticed that you did Open Worlds that year. But
but
I know
I was going to that Worlds, but something happened.
You didn't come to Moose Jaw. You went to Pilsen instead.
No, I was actually banned to compete from the federation because I was lifting at the local meet and I lifted more than I was allowed. So the coach said that we will not nominate you for that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
interesting. All right.
Yeah. And I also bombed out from the Europeans, junior Europeans, right before the nomination. So they said, okay, you did a local meet before Europeans and you lifted more there than other Europeans and you bombed at Europeans. And we said that, and they also said that I have to participate on some summer meetup with the national team. And I said I cannot do it because of work. And I said, okay, then we will not nominate you for Junior Worlds. So.
Interesting. That's
but But I think they regret afterwards. I did the Western Europeans at the week after the Junior Worlds, and I got nominated for the Open World, so it was okay for me.
Right.
Yeah, that works out then.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on and chatting. All right. We want to thank you for listening to the Equipped, Bruised, and Tired podcast. We're going to be available on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever fine podcasts are found. So make sure to leave your 5-star rating if you enjoyed the show, and a review as well, and or check out our video version of the show on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions for ourselves, guest suggestions, or questions for our guests, you can go ahead and contact us at equippedbruisedtired@gmail.com, and make sure to do your part to spread the word of the Equipped Renaissance. We'll see you next time.